In that village, there was one man everyone knew, not because he was kind, not because he was wise, but because he was loud, strong, and full of pride. His name was Kelvin. Kelvin walked like the ground belonged to him. He talked like the sky listened, and he believed one thing with his whole chest. A man must be in control, especially over his wife. When Kelvin passed by, children stopped playing, men lowered their voices, women moved aside. People whispered, "That man does not bend for anyone." Kelvin liked those whispers. They fed his ego. One evening, sitting outside his house, he laughed and said, "I don't need a clever woman. I need a wife who listens." The village heard him, and some people smiled because they knew something Kelvin didn't. Like and subscribe because this village was about to witness history.
Kelvin did not just want a wife. He wanted a system. He told his friends, "My wife will wake when I say, eat when I say, speak when I allow." His friends nodded, but one of them laughed and asked, "And what if she refuses?" Kelvin stood up, chest forward. "Then she should not marry me." He believed marriage was about authority, not partnership. In the village, many women avoided him. They had heard his words. They had seen his temper. Kelvin took that as respect. "They fear me," he said proudly. What he didn't understand was fear and intelligence are very different things.
When Kelvin finally married, the village gathered. The bride's name was Amma. She did not speak much. She did not argue. She smiled softly. Kelvin watched her and felt satisfied. Perfect, he thought. She looks quiet. People whispered again, but this time differently. She is too calm. She smiles too much. Kelvin ignored them. During the wedding, Kelvin gave orders even before the food was served. Amma simply nodded. No argument, no resistance. That night, Kelvin slept peacefully. He believed he had won.
The very next morning, Kelvin tested his power. He sat on a chair and said, "Amma, bring water. Then cook. Then clean." Amma smiled. "Okay," she said softly. Kelvin relaxed. But what happened next confused him. Amma placed the bucket beside him and said calmly, "You are strong. Carrying it will be easy for you." Kelvin blinked. "What?" Amma tilted her head. "You said everything in this house must be done properly. Strong people do things best." The villagers passing by saw Kelvin holding the bucket. They stopped. They stared. Then someone laughed. Kelvin felt heat on his face.
By the afternoon, Kelvin was sweeping. Not because Amma shouted, not because she forced him, but because she made it sound logical. When neighbors asked Amma, "Why is your husband working?" she smiled politely. "He likes to help." The village laughed. Not loudly, yet. Kelvin felt something he had never felt before. Not fear, embarrassment. And somewhere deep inside him, a small voice whispered, "This woman is different." But it was too late. The village had started watching, and they were enjoying the show. Kelvin thought the embarrassment would end inside the house. He was wrong. That evening, Amma walked with him through the village. When they met people, Amma smiled brightly and said, "My husband is very hardworking, not like other men." The villagers froze. Then one old man laughed. Another clapped slowly. Kelvin forced a smile, but his jaw tightened. "Amma," he whispered, "why are you saying that?" Amma looked innocent. "Is it bad to praise your husband?" Kelvin had no answer. Kelvin decided silence was better. He stopped giving orders. But Amma did not stop talking. She started asking questions. Simple questions. Should the floor be cleaned now or later? Is the pot heavy or light? Every question ended the same way. Kelvin doing the work. He wanted to shout, but the villagers were always nearby, watching, smiling.
One morning, Amma said calmly, "We need food. The market is busy today." Kelvin nodded. Then Amma added, "Strong men carry things better." At the market, Kelvin carried baskets. Women stared. Children pointed. Someone whispered, "Is that Kelvin?" Amma walked proudly beside him. "Careful," she said softly, "don't spill the tomatoes." Laughter followed them home. Kelvin's pride was cracking. By the next week, the village had a new name for Kelvin. Not loud, not official, but dangerous. They called him Amma's assistant. Whenever Kelvin passed, someone whispered it. Kelvin heard it, every time. He confronted Amma at home. "They are laughing at me." Amma nodded seriously. "Yes, but laughing is better than fearing, no?" Kelvin sat down. For the first time, he felt tired.
That night, Kelvin did something unexpected. He cooked. Amma watched quietly. He served the food and said slowly, "Eat." Amma smiled and replied, "No, let us eat together." Kelvin paused. Something shifted. Not anger, not defeat. Understanding. Outside, laughter echoed through the village. Inside, Kelvin whispered to himself, "This woman is changing everything." And the village knew the story was only beginning.
Kelvin woke up early that morning with a decision. Enough is enough. He sat outside thinking hard. I will take control back. Today, I give orders again. When Amma came out, Kelvin cleared his throat. "Amma," he said firmly, "from today, things will change." Amma looked at him calmly. "Okay," she replied. Kelvin felt powerful again. "You will handle the house. I will rest." Amma nodded. Then she asked gently, "If you are resting, who will welcome the visitors today?" Kelvin frowned. Visitors meant respect. He stood up. "I will." Amma smiled. The plan ended before it started. That afternoon, relatives arrived. Kelvin stood proudly. Amma whispered, "Since you are in charge today, you should serve them well." Kelvin hesitated. The guests watched. Kelvin served food, poured drinks, cleaned plates. The guests exchanged looks. Someone laughed. Amma thanked Kelvin sweetly. "You did very well." Kelvin's ears burned. A village meeting was called. Kelvin attended, hoping to regain his respect. He sat at the front. Amma sat behind him. When discussion began, Amma leaned forward and said softly, "My husband has strong opinions. He should speak." The village stared at Kelvin. Kelvin stood. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Someone coughed. Someone smiled. Kelvin sat down slowly. The meeting ended with laughter. That night, Kelvin finally asked the question, "Amma, why are you doing this?" Amma did not raise her voice. "I am not doing anything," she said. "I am only following your rules." Kelvin felt something heavy in his chest. "You never shout," he said. Amma smiled. "Shouting is loud. Silence lasts longer." Kelvin slept without speaking. For the first time, he dreamed instead of commanded. The next morning, Kelvin woke early again. But this time, not to plan, to help. He swept the yard without being asked. Amma watched quietly. The villagers noticed. No laughter this time, only surprise. Kelvin looked at Amma and said softly, "Maybe control is not strength."
Amma nodded. The village was changing, and so was Kelvin.
The sun rose slowly over the village. Kelvin stepped out of his house, rubbing his temples. He had been trying to regain his control for days. "I will show everyone," he muttered, "that I am still the strongest." Amma walked beside him, calm as ever. "Good morning, my husband. Are you ready for the day?" she asked sweetly. Kelvin straightened his shoulders. Yes, of course," he said, trying to sound confident. As they walked through the village, neighbors waved, children pointed, and then laughter. Kelvin frowned. Why are they laughing? Amma glanced at him, still smiling. Because you are working hard, and you look very serious while doing it. Kelvin paused mid-step. His pride felt strange, heavy even. He realized that he had been trying to control everyone, and yet it was Amma quietly steering everything with just a smile. The villagers noticed, some whispered, some chuckled openly. Kelvin felt heat rise to his cheeks. This woman, she is not loud, she doesn't even argue, and yet everyone listens. Kelvin suddenly laughed nervously, a sound so unfamiliar to the village that people stopped talking and stared. I think I am the one being led," he whispered. Amma just smiled, walked past him, and picked up a basket of water. The villagers laughed heartily. Kelvin realized, for the first time, that being strong wasn't about shouting or dominating. The village festival had arrived. Drums thumped. Children ran about, laughing. Colorful flags swayed in the breeze. Kelvin arrived, expecting to assert his authority. "Today I will be the strongest man here," he told himself. Amma walked beside him, carrying a tray of food for the elders. She smiled and whispered, "Shall we see who enjoys the festival more?" As soon as Kelvin tried to sit at the front, an elder handed him a broom. "Your husband is in charge of cleaning the stage," the elder said. Kelvin's jaw dropped. The crowd laughed. Amma whispered gently, "You said strong men do things well." Kelvin gritted his teeth but began sweeping. Every sweep of the broom made the villagers laugh harder. Children danced around him, teasing. Women whispered jokes. Kelvin paused and looked at Amma. She stood quietly, smiling, holding her basket. "She's doing this on purpose," Kelvin muttered. "She wants me to learn humility without saying a word." And the laughter didn't end. Kelvin realized that the entire village was watching and enjoying his transformation. The next morning, Amma suggested they go to the market. "It's busy today," she said lightly, "and I thought you might enjoy carrying the heavy baskets." Kelvin's heart sank. He wanted to refuse, but Amma's polite tone made it impossible. At the market, villagers stopped in their tracks. Kelvin was carrying basket after basket, sweat forming on his forehead. Amma walked beside him, whispering advice. "Balance it carefully. Strong men do not spill things." A group of women whispered to each other, "Look, that's Kelvin, the mighty man, now our village helper." Kelvin could only laugh nervously. Amma smiled at him again. "See? Isn't helping fun?" By the time they returned, Kelvin was exhausted, but something inside him had shifted. He no longer felt anger. Instead, respect. For Amma, for her mind, for her cleverness. Word of Kelvin's new role spread fast. Children called him Amma's assistant. Elders joked about him. Even the market vendors teased him lovingly. Kelvin tried to protest at home. "Amma, they're mocking me." Amma tilted her head and said gently, "They are not mocking, dear. They are celebrating your strength in new ways." Kelvin frowned, but deep down he realized she was right. He laughed, shaking his head. The village's laughter became part of his daily life. At first, it embarrassed him. Now, he began to enjoy it. The laughter reminded him that life could be fun, even when you're not in control. By evening, Kelvin and Amma sat outside. The sun painted golden lines across the village. Kelvin looked at Amma and whispered, "I think I finally understand you." Amma smiled. She had won, without shouting, without arguing, without even raising her voice. That night, Kelvin cooked dinner, not because Amma told him, not because he had no choice. He cooked because he wanted to. Amma watched silently, occasionally commenting, "Add a little more salt. Stir carefully." Kelvin followed her advice, feeling a strange satisfaction. When they sat down to eat, Kelvin finally spoke. "Amma, you were right. I cannot control everything, and I do not want to." Amma smiled gently. Strength is knowing when to lead and when to follow. Outside, the village whispered, laughed, and nodded. Kelvin leaned back and laughed along with them. For the first time, he felt free. The villagers, seeing their king surrender with a smile, laughed so loudly that even the birds seemed to pause in the trees. Amma reached over and whispered, "See, life is easier when you enjoy it." Kelvin nodded. He had learned his first lesson. You cannot win against a clever woman. You can only learn from her.